Hello everybody and welcome back to the Beatles Forever. Today we're going to see what led Ringo Starr into the world of music. Ringo Starr, aka Richard Starkey, was born in Liverpool, the Dingle section, on July 7, 1940. He didn't have an easy birth. He had to be brought out with forceps. And Ringo's dad, he was a baker, but he left the family when Ringo was 3. He still sent money to the family. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough money to get by on. So his mom, Elsie, took a job as a barmaid. It was then that Ringo spent a lot of time with his grandfather, Starkey, who was a Boilermaker. Ringo didn't have much, but he didn't mind. The only thing he just wanted was a brother and sister sometimes to talk to when he couldn't go out and play with his friends. Ringo had a terrible time with his health when he was younger. He had a burst appendix, which luckily he was got to the hospital just in time. And then he was in a coma for several weeks. I told my mother 3 times that I'd be dead in the morning, and I was lucky to survive. Even after coming around, I was barely conscious for long periods. He then spent a year recovering at the Myrtle Street Children's Hospital in Liverpool. Then at the age of 13, he got tuberculosis and was sent away to a sanitarium, and he had 3 bouts with pleurisy. Poor Ringo's mom must have really been out of her mind with fear during these times of Ringo's illnesses. Really must have taken a toll on her, I can only imagine. Being in the hospital so long seemed like it would be a bad experience, but somehow Ringo remained upbeat, and it was while he was in the hospital with tuberculosis that he found his passion for music. There was a health worker there, and that person was handing out instruments to keep the kids occupied, and it was at this time that Ringo found his passion for the drums. Elsie was alone for a time after she divorced her husband, and later she found love with a man named Harry Graves, and he was a good-natured painter and decorator who had moved from London to Liverpool, and he later got a job at a military base. Harry had a love of music, and it was while he worked at the American military base he got access to American entertainments, one of them being comic books. Along the way, when Ringo walked to school, there was a music store that was on the way there, and then he kept looking in there at all the instruments, and of course the drums really spoke to him. And he had seen Gene Krupa in the movies, and he liked him, but he never bought any of his records. In Ringo's family, nobody played the drums. His grandparents played mandolin and banjo, and Ringo would sing at family get-togethers. But one day at the music store, Ringo saw Tom Tom, and he had to have it. It's funny how things can lead you to your destiny. And once Elsie got together with Harry, it led to Ringo getting more involved with the music. When he got out of the hospital, he was around 15, and he got a one-sided bass drum for 30 shillings, and he used a firewood for drumsticks. It wasn't an easy way to have to play an instrument. And he also used a flat tin for cymbals, and then he used a big biscuit tin as a tom, and a shallow biscuit tin as a snare drum. In 1957, his stepfather bought him a drum kit, and he paid £12 for it. And the kit was complete, and it stood, the drum kit was kind of old. It was about 25 years old, but this was his first real drum kit. And he said the drums hit him when he played because he was so small, and the kit was so large. And Ringo didn't really know how to play it, so he just bashed around on it, he said. And Ringo tried drum lessons, but he thought it was boring. He decided to play drums in his room, but that led to his parents telling him, keep it down, because the neighbors were being disturbed. And if only they had known that Ringo would one day be a Beatle, and they were hearing free music, they might have changed their tune, but at that time, I guess the sounds probably didn't sound as good as they did when he joined the Beatles. And then, around this time, Ringo decided, the only way to learn to play was to join a band. And the first band he joined was called the Eddie Miles Band. And later it became the Eddie Clayton Skiffle Group, because at that time in England, skiffle was becoming all the rage. And then in 1958, he borrowed money from his paternal grandfather to get a 100-pound drum kit. Ringo felt drumming was in his soul, just like George Harrison was possessed by the guitar. Ringo then joined the Darktown Skiffle Group in 1959, and they later went rock and roll and changed their name to the Cadillacs. The only trouble was no one in the band considered music to be their main profession, and Ringo did. Ringo then joined a band called Roy Storm and the Hurricanes. It was then that band that they became one of the hottest bands in Liverpool. The band mixed around with other bands in the area, and that's when the Beatles and Ringo began to hang out. And it led to Pete Best being booted from the Beatles and Ringo taking his place. And the rest is history. Well, who influenced Ringo towards music besides members of the family and him being in love with the drums? He said in his youth that he liked skiffle bands, but later got into rock and roll. And he also liked country music. Hank Williams, Buck Owens, Hank Snow. He liked jazz with artists like Chico Hamilton and Yusuf Lateef. Surprisingly, he never really cared for drummers, and the only drum record he bought was Cozy Cole, who did a cover version of Benny Goodman's song, Topsy Part 2. Gene Autry was a childhood figure that he loved, and the song South of the Border, I think, put a chill down his spine, he said. And he also later liked Lee Dorsey. And it's neat to see how a person gets to go toward the path of their destiny. Ringo came from humble beginnings where it seemed like that anyone that ever lived in that area would never become famous. Yet Ringo found his passion with the drums, and he never stopped trying to make music his career. His path led him to be in one of the most popular bands in the world, and the world is thankful for his tenacity. Thank you everybody for watching. Please like or subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you again next time with another Beatles Forever story. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.